TalkSport. Listen to the wrestling talk. TalkSport. Listen to the wrestling talk. TalkSport.
Hello and welcome to Talk Wrestling on TalkSport. I'm your host, the show stealer, Alex Shane, and for the next 2 hours we're going to be talking about all the latest happenings in and around the world of professional wrestling. Remember, this is a phone-in show, and you can ring a TalkSport switchboard by ringing 08704 20 20 20. That's 08704 20 20 20. Never fear, it's the show stealer here. What we're going to do today is take you around the set of the TalkSport Wrestling Radio Show here at TalkSport and give you a little bit of an insight as to what goes on. Let's go.
TalkSport. Listen to the wrestling talk.
Basically, the TalkSport Wrestling Radio Show is a show that we have been doing for about a year now. I've been hosting it. I started doing it as a co-host and I'm now actually hosting the show. And it's just one of those things really where we get people to phone in, give their views on wrestling, not just in the UK but obviously Japan and the US as well. We have people on the phone like Bill Apter from Power Magazine, Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer. We have British guests in the studio, also live American guests too. Today's show we've actually got Jake the Snake Roberts in, which is going to be cool, and FWA Tag Team Champions of the UK Pitbulls. We've had Doug Williams in, Jodie Fleisch. Also we've been on the phone to people like Rob Van Dam, William Regal, and we've had a lot of big stars on the show, and that's basically what it is. And I think it's going to go from strength to strength. It's 2 hours of non-stop wrestling, so it can't be bad.
Right, I'm Simon Lillsboy, I'm co-host of the show with the show stealer Alex Shane. I basically talk about wrestling and give my opinions and help book the guests in competitions.
Spoke about it before, July the 13th at the Royal Albert Hall, the UFC come to Great Britain for the first time. Shut. Oh! One of the things that make Talk Wrestling the show that it's become is the music. When we come back from a commercial break, we have different people's ring music. Sometimes it's the FWA theme, we have the Talk Wrestling theme, we have the Alex Shane Show Stealer theme, which I was just queuing up there to make sure it's ready for tonight's show. And of course we have theme music from the top stars from the United States and the WWE. The music is something I think a lot of people actually tune in for. I know a lot of people phone in and they request their favourite theme of the week. We have that each week, which is the most requested theme. And some cheeky people out there, instead of actually buying FWA the music from our website, frontierwrestling.com, actually sit at home with a tape machine and record the songs rather than actually going and buying a CD, which is a cheeky thing, but if it means they're listening to Talk Wrestling, it's okay with the show stealer. And of course, joining us in the studio, the lovely Nikita, probably in some people's eyes, the top female wrestler in the UK at the moment. Sweet Soraya had something to say about that a couple of weeks ago in the Walthamstow Assembly Halls. She will be here answering all your emails. Nikita, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Looking radiant as ever.
Hello, I'm Nikita. I read the emails on Talk Wrestling on TalkSport.
And of course, once back from injury, the fans have demanded, well actually two people demanded him, a lot of people demanded he not be let back on the air. The Twisted Genius, Dean Ayas. Dean, how are you?
Finally, I'm back in the studio here. It's great. I'm really looking forward to it, even if it does mean I have to sit opposite Simon Lillsboy.
We get all sorts of different emails. We get people asking about their favourite wrestlers, people who've disappeared from TV, what they're doing now, where they are, etc. We get people talking about the WWE, contrasting opinions, whether a certain wrestler is good or bad, or an angle is good or bad, what they would like to see in the future, so on. People talking about the British scene, people who've come to see FWA shows, want to know more about it, or just want to tell us how great they were, obviously. And yes, the odd marriage proposal.
Basically, the radio show works really well with the FWA TV wrestling show because for those people that can't watch an episode of the TV, or for those people that can't make it to every show, it's a way of continuing our storylines. People can keep up to date about who hates who, who's fighting who. Also, we give you the latest up-to-date matches that have been signed for our shows around the country.
The show's been amazing for British wrestling. You just saw what it did for Revival. You see how we can build up storylines, because not everyone reads the internet and not everyone watches the FWA tapes, but a lot of people do listen to the show, and that way we can build up the storylines.
Could come back and bite them in the backside, because who are they going to get when The Rock leaves to do more films?
I like calls who are going to sort of, you know, take us on, but not sort of have a go, but just sort of disagree with our opinions. I like, you know, if we're saying Chris Jericho's no good, I like people to ring in and disagree with us, because I like a good argument on air. That's great. And I love people who just ring up, just your average fan who just rings in and wants to know where the Ultimate Warrior is. I love that sort of stuff, because it's what people want to talk about.
And where are you calling from, Daniel?
The main event of WrestleMania, Paul. Who would you
Or
want
in
to win?
words?
I think probably the most important thing about the Wrestling Radio Show is not just the exposure it's given me, because it's done wonders for my career, but for British wrestling in general, it's been such a good way of getting us exposure. You know, the mainstream have really, they snub wrestling as it is, even a company like the WWE, which is huge, global and worldwide, but British wrestling, especially the FWA, has never really had a forum to get that publicity. The Wrestling Radio Show really changed all that. It made people out there in the outside world aware that there was a British industry going on. It wasn't just Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks. It wasn't just fat old guys in tights, which people thought it was. There's young talent out there. There's older veterans out there that can still go. And there's a whole entire industry here. And I think this has probably been, I may get criticised for saying this, but I think it's probably been the most instrumental thing in getting British wrestling to the level it's slowly getting to at the moment. You know, you have people like Doug Williams, Jodie Fleiss, Johnny Storm, all going abroad now. And basically, I think a lot of them going abroad has got a lot to do with things like Revival, which put them on a worldwide platform. Revival would not have been made possible if it wasn't for Talk Wrestling. So I really feel that Talk Wrestling has probably been the most instrumental thing in getting British wrestling exposure, definitely in the last 10 years. And I think it will continue to do so, because each time someone tunes in to listen to their favourite WWF stars and what they've been getting up to, they also hear names like Alex Shane, like Scott Parker, like Ulf Herman, like Robbie Brookside and Drew McDonald, and all these guys out there that, you know, they would never ever heard of before. And hopefully when you say a name like Hayde Vanson in the same breath as Steve Austin, it makes people think, these guys are legitimate wrestlers, they're legitimate stars, and there's more chance of them going and paying money to go and see these guys in the venues in and around the country, not just for the FWA, but for all the other British promoters. And that's hopefully the main aim from Talk Wrestling here on TalkSport.
If people want to email the show, they need to go to talksport.net and click on a button that says email the show, and they get straight through to us.
So for those people that want to catch Talk Wrestling on TalkSport, you can do that by tuning into 1089 to 1053 medium wave between 8 and 10 each and every Saturday night, because it's the best wrestling radio show in the world, and there are two things you can do about it. That's nothing and like it.
TalkSport.